Finding life a bit complex? Confusing? Aware that your old strategies aren't working? Why not ask Pam and Marilyn? This is the Irreverent Therapists, and we're here to add some clarity, humor, and a bit of what might be considered blasphemy to your day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Irreverent Therapists. I'm Pam Hodling, and of course, with me is my partner in crime, Marilyn Bradford.
Woohoo! Here we are again, Pam. It's just amazing. It just rolls around every week, just like, I don't know what, like egg on an Easter hunt or something.
I know, and I love it that we do this every week. It's like our moment together where we get to talk about all kinds of wonderful things.
Yes.
So today we are going to be talking about who are you putting in front of you?
Or what?
Or what? Yeah, it could be
I'm piping
who
up
or
here.
What are you putting in front of you? Do you hide behind others? Is your life dedicated to fixing other people? Have you made an ideology, belief, or cause bigger than you? What would your life I can't read right now, Marilyn. Here we go. How would your life change if you were willing to show up first? It's so hard to even consider. I can't even say it.
Must be pushing something.
So how would your life change if you were willing to show up first? Is it time to stop hiding? And I have to say, I am so glad we're talking about this today, Marilyn, because I know for both of us, this is a thing that's been coming up for both of us in our lives this week. And so I think it's a very...
Wait. Are you doing something to our image of being perfect, Pam? I mean...
Oh, right. I shouldn't say that. Hey, everybody listening, never mind. We have no problems and nothing ever happens to us that's challenging or anything like that.
We never pick these topics because they have any relevance to our lives.
We're so perfect, and we're here to just inform you.
Exactly. Thank you. Okay, now we got that straight.
Yes. No, actually, the tools we talk about on this show, we both use all the time. And usually the topics we're bringing up have something to do with what's been coming up in our lives or the people around us. So you're getting a firsthand view of Marilyn and I in action.
Or sometimes not in action, which is part of the problem.
So, Marilyn, who are you putting in front of you?
Well, interesting you should ask that, Pam. We were having a discussion before the show, and I was talking about how I hadn't been doing the things that I had judged that I should be doing, mostly writing. And Pam was having me look at what I had been doing, which is a whole lot of other stuff, but also what I realized, and interestingly, this parallels a client that I had this morning. It's like if I have decided that I should be doing blank, and I'm not doing it, then I either don't acknowledge what I am actually doing, which may be a huge contribution, or I make myself sort of impotent. Like I can't do anything until I finish this blog or until I write the first 2 chapters. And it's almost like a punishment of ourselves. But I also find people do that like with food. I can't have a life until I lose 30 pounds. I can't go out in public. I can't buy clothes. I can't do anything until I lose 30 pounds. So it's got this energy of us actually stopping our lives and stopping our creativity and stopping what's fun and creative and expansive on the basis of having made something or someone greater than us.
Yeah.
And we're the one who does it.
Yeah. Well, and it's like everything you were just talking about, it's referencing outside of you, right?
Yes.
Whether it's, you might say, well, the weight is on my body, so that's not outside of me, but that point of view that there is a weight you should be or a way you should look or something you should be doing or blogs you should be writing, all of that, it's looking outside of you, making that more important, referencing it before you can choose anything,
Yeah.
rather than you choosing and creating and seeing what does that create in the world? What does that change in the world? So.
Yep, I was bollocksing me up, and now I'm my happy self again.
And I never do that, Marilyn. In fact, I did not do that earlier today at all.
It has been a day of putting others and things in front of us.
Yes.
So you want to talk about that a little bit?
I will. And first I'd like to say, I mean, you guys will know this if you've read our bios, but Marilyn and I are both access consciousness facilitators. And, so we happen to facilitate each other all the time. And I just wanted to say a little bit about what facilitation is, because in facilitation, it's not, I have all the answers and I am going to fix Marilyn now because I see all her problems and know what to do about them.
If only that were true.
But so it's not like that. As facilitators, what we do is ask each other questions. And so, during these shows, you're hearing us use tools and give you ideas. When we're facilitating each other, that's what we're doing. I'm asking Marilyn questions. We're looking at the energy of things, what's heavy, what's light, using the clearing statement. So when we're talking about, a few hours ago, I had this going on, it's using these very same tools that we're giving you as how we get ourselves out of this crap. For each other and on our own. So, anyway, so what's been going on for me is one of my children is having a quite challenging time. And I was, so I was noticing how much I get, how do I want to put this, Marilyn? I get caught up in all of that, sometimes, not all the time.
Well, are you referencing parenting of this reality or something?
That was it. Yes,
like that?
yes. Yeah. Basically, and I was looking at everything going on in terms of the reference of parenting, and what Marilyn helped me do was ask questions, and that I had put parenting in front of me, like the whole parenting and kids, is so vital that I get lost in there anywhere. And what she helped me realize is the whole thing wasn't about parenting at all. If I'm willing to look at my kids as beings and I'm a being and, how would I treat anybody else? What choices would I make where I wouldn't get lost? Because what Marilyn helps me see is there's so many other areas of life where I show up and I don't put other people first. I take everyone into consideration. I make choices with the awareness of what it's creating for everyone, but I don't make myself less than. But when it comes to my kids, it's like my Achilles heel, where that's where I tend to go into the crap. Each of us has our own little special area where we do that. So,
but what, you brought up something that I think is really crucial to talk about, and we can talk about it two ways. One is the kingdom of we versus the kingdom of me, and the other is 50-50 versus 49-51. Because what you were saying is that, I was pointing out that you have many other areas where you don't make yourself less and you don't make yourself greater.
Yes.
You work with every being as they show up on the 50-50 basis. And I want to say something about that in a minute, but also on the sense of the kingdom of we. The kingdom of we, which I think is this fantastic concept from Access, is all about, what it does is it takes you out of polarity. Like it takes you away from either my kid is right or my mom is right or my boss is right and I'm wrong or I'm right and they're wrong. It takes you out of that into becoming aware of what's going to create the greatest for everyone. And it may seem like one person's going to, quote, lose out a little bit, but if you're really willing to look at the energy and ask the question, what's this going to create? And what's this going to create? I realized I'm involved in doing a writing project, and, it's something that when I started doing it, I was sort of a different person. Would you say, Pam?
Yes.
And now and it's changed greatly, and I've changed. And I'm looking at the energy of it, and it may be truly the kingdom of we for me to say, hey guys, this is not, I love what you're doing. I love where it's going, and it's not working for me anymore. And what contribution can I be in this transition? Rather than I have to do it, or I can't do it, or I'm being right, or I'm being wrong. So this moving out of making someone or something greater puts you in a space where you can actually look and see what's going on. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's what that brought up for me, which I thought was pretty cool.
Well, and I'm so glad you said that because, for example, this morning when you were facilitating me, as soon as I got those kind of points of view I had out of the way and cleared them, my awareness of what can I create here? What can I choose that would create something different? Where are my kids functioning from? What might be a contribution to them? It's like with those judgments and point of views and all of that out of the way, my awareness of what is increased dramatically. And from that awareness, I make very different choices. With all the judgments in place, it's reaction. In fact, that's, what I said to Marilyn is I can tell I'm going into reaction. I'm not choosing. And, with her helping me clear the points of view, I was able to change that.
Cool.
Yeah. So thank you, Marilyn. Oh,
thank
my goodness. So, and on that note, I think it's time for us to go to a commercial break. So we will be back very shortly to talk more about who are you putting in front of you.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Hi, this is Angela Levesque, host of Entanglement Radio. Join me Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern for inspiring conversations with visionaries in spiritual science and conscious healing. Entanglement Radio, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. Transcendent talk for the conscious mind.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. Simone Milasas would like you to know that business can be fun, which is why she wrote the book, Joy of Business. What if you could have the joy of business rather than the stress and struggle? Most of the time, the only thing stopping you from a thriving business is you. In the Joy of Business book, Simone gives you access consciousness tools and pragmatic ways to get out of your own way and to create the business, life, and living you know is possible and beyond what this reality says is achievable. Business is joy. It's creation. It's generative. It can be the adventure of living. You can purchase your copy of the book through Amazon or Joy of Business website, www.accessjoyofbusiness.com.
Live with Medium Lisa Phoenix, Mediumship Messages and Musings, explores mediumship and all things metaphysical. Lisa Phoenix invites you to reach above and beyond your everyday experiences, to explore new dimensions in the spirit world. She will do live readings to connect callers to their loved ones in spirit, shares engaging stories and teachings from her own personal experience, and will have intriguing conversations with other mediums, spiritual teachers, and healers to help you understand the metaphysical world so you can connect to these forces in your day-to-day life. Join your host on this magical and metaphysical journey into the world of spirit every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time.
Conscious media for conscious minds. Om Times.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Irreverent Therapists, where we are talking about who are you putting in front of you. And I just want to mention, if you're listening live and you'd like to ask us questions or make comments, you can do that through our Facebook page. If you go to Facebook and search on the Irreverent Therapists, you'll find us, and you can make a post there or comment on our post that says, ask your questions here. So anyway.
And I'm monitoring it.
And yes, Marilyn is on it.
I'm on it.
So I wanted to say, Marilyn, before the break, you talked some about Kingdom of We, but you'd also mentioned like 49, 51%, 50%. So I wanted us to go into that a little bit and let people know what we're talking about with that.
Absolutely. What most of us learn from our parents, our families, our teachers, our cultures, religions, institutions, is that you're either in the 49% position or you're in the 51% position. And basically, that's a whole system of hierarchy, so that you're either above somebody or below somebody. And it's all about power over. But the difficulty with that is if you actually have to come to some kind of judgment or conclusion to say you're greater than me and I'm less than you, or I'm greater than you and you're less than me. And, hey, Pam, here's the next line of who or what are you making greater than you? Who or what are you making less than you?
Yes. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Now, before we go down that path, I just want to kind of illustrate what you're saying. So, with some of the things we've been talking about. So, for example, when Marilyn comes to me and says, hey, can you facilitate me? There's this thing I'm realizing I'm sticking myself with. I'm 50 and she's 50. Right? It's not that when you come and ask me a question, I go, okay, now I'm the 51 and you're the 49.
I'm the expert therapist and you're a mere client.
Yes. So, and that's part of what makes facilitation, one, so fun and so easy is, I'm not trying to fix you or anything. I'm just willing to be the one asking questions. On the other hand, when, with my kids, I tend to be either I'm 51, I'm the mom saying, hey, you got to do your dishes or blah, 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 and I'm trying to make them do things. Or when they go into, certain kinds of things going on, I go into 49 and put like.
I have noticed occasionally.
Yeah, Marilyn has witnessed this firsthand.
Who are you being? What are you doing?
Right. And you might say, oh, well, to put your child's needs first, that's what you should do as a good parent. But when you do this 49-51 thing, you're not putting your child's needs first. You're actually going into this universe of judgment and expectation and control, and it's just, who's on top. When you're willing to, even with your kids, be 50-50, you can create something totally different, no matter what it is that's going on.
Well, and I think we should probably say more about that, because people are like, 50-50 with my kids? They're going to run the show.
But they're only 12 and 14. What do you mean?
And we're not talking about everybody being the same.
Yeah.
What we're talking about is each person honoring the person where they are and for who they are, and each person may have an appropriate role in the situation.
Yeah.
So Pam has an appropriate role as mom, and the kids have appropriate role as kids.
Yeah.
But you can still but relate to them as beings, big beings, little bodies, and say, okay, so this is going on. What are we going to do with this?
Well, and I think if we take it into the venue of business for a moment, that makes it clearer. Like, you and I could be I could have a business and you could be my employee.
Yes.
Right? So I own, 100% of the business and you work for me. So
Yes.
people would say, there's no way that's 50-50. That's like 100 and 0 or something.
Right.
But energetically, how I engage with you can be 50-50. It's like, I'm interested in what you have to contribute. What are your ideas? I still make the final decisions. I'm the one who chooses what happens with the business, but I'm not looking at me as better than, greater than, more important than you.
Oh, yes. And, actually, I've run businesses the old way before where people worked for me, and it was always funky. And now I have an assistant in my Right Recovery for You work, and we are truly 50-50.
Yeah.
And she knows how much I honor and respect and am grateful for her. See, she has different talents and abilities than I do. And I have my strengths and she has her strengths. But like I suggested we do a teleseries and she said, you know what? I think we should really do something different on this one. Let's do blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, that's brilliant. Okay. So when you're actually operating at a 50-50, you're willing to receive, you're willing to receive from the other person.
Yeah.
When you're 49-51, as the 51%, you're not apt to receive from the other person because you've already decided they're less than you.
Right.
And from the 49%, you're not apt to receive from the person above you because you're already in resistance and reaction of who are you to tell me what to do?
Right.
You know?
Right.
But it's so, I mean, I was thinking about that again because I just yesterday took my car in and I have a new, because I moved back to I moved to Santa Fe, but I found this garage. I have a new garage and they're just great. They're nice people. They're down home. They've been there for like 35 years. It's on some little corner street, at nothing to look at, but good people do good work. And I realized, just watching how most of their clients treated them 50-50. It was very interesting. And because you don't find that in businesses that often. Mm-hmm. And I certainly did. And I was like, I'm just so grateful for you guys. And it was interesting because I was waiting for my ride and it's kind of dark inside and the sun had come out and I went and sat on the steps and the guy brought me out a chair just to be nice. And that the energy of 50-50 is we're both contributing to each other and we're both honoring our differences. And that doesn't exist anytime you're doing 49-51.
Yeah. Yeah. And okay, you had said something brilliant about 49 and I was like, let's wait on that. And now I can't even remember what it was. It was so awesome.
I think we should have a notepad or something because I have no idea what I said earlier.
Hopefully it'll pop into one of our heads and we'll get back to it.
Yeah, you said I don't want to go there yet. What were we talking about?
I don't know. It was absolutely brilliant. You were saying something about, there's where you make yourself better than others. There's where you make yourself less than others.
And the 50-50, but we did go there.
We did go there. So let's talk about hiding.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I'm sorry, I'm under the table. I can't come out.
Are you hiding?
So, there's another way that you can put someone or something in front of you, and that is basically to hide behind their skirts. If you've ever seen, a little kid, if mom is wearing a dress, or even, grabbing daddy's pants leg and standing behind him, that's the energy we're talking about. But it's also a way to sort of not show up in your own life. I know, have you ever called somebody at a big corporation or something and they go, well, I don't make the rules. You can't, don't kill the messenger. I'm just telling you what the corporate rules are. And in a way that's true. And in another way, how damaging is that to you as a being to take on that position?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think sometimes we want to hide behind others and, I can use you as my excuse to not choose, not create, not change things.
Yes.
But the only way to do that is really to diminish me as a being.
Absolutely. Totally. You cease to exist or have any value if you do that.
Yeah. Boy, that feels really heavy, Marilyn. Let's do the clearing.
You should do a clearing or something like that. So everywhere you're hiding behind someone and basically dimming your light and what is it? It's like abdicating your being.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, no wonder it's heavy. Can we destroy and uncreate that times a godzillion?
Yes, please. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. And just in case you're new to us and what we're doing, what I just said, right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, pod, poc, shorts, boys and beyond, is called the Access Clearing Statement. And you can go online to theclearingstatement.com and learn more about it. But basically what we're doing is we ask a question, bring up energy, that clearing statement just blasts it out of the universe so that you aren't limited in that way anymore.
Yeah. It actually does go back and clear out the energy. And, you've heard us talk before, but it's all about the energy. And this whole one up, one down, making yourself greater, making yourself less than, hiding behind someone, it's all energetic. Mm-hmm. So that you can have someone who works in a corporation who, totally hides behind the rules and all of that. But you can also have someone who does essentially the same job who doesn't do that energetically. Yeah. But they'd be apt to say something like, yeah, I get that. I'm not sure what I can tell you about that because this is the company rule. But let me see what I can do.
Yes. Well, and that's the thing. When you're hiding, you're powerless. I mean, you're making yourself powerless.
Yes.
You're making it so you can't change things. And it's like you're abdicating, actually, I want to say responsibility, but to me, some responsibility has so much, crap associated with it. But it's like you're abdicating the choice to create.
Yes.
And choosing to just get by.
Well, and not only get by, it's almost like survive in a somnambulant state or something.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like have you ever known people where you really think like,
Actually, hold that thought because we're having a commercial.
Oh, we're having a break.
So we will be back with talking more about who are you putting in front of you. Go to our Facebook page, The Irreverent Therapists, to comment or ask questions.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on Om Times Radio.
The truth is, you can't change the world if you're broke. I know, I've tried. Isn't it time you turned your life's calling into a profitable, freedom-based business? I'm Michelle Barr. Join me every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern for Sacred Success.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. What if business could be fun? What if business is the adventure of living? What are you choosing? Where do you do business that makes it easier, more fun, or more joyful for you? We'd love to see where you do business. Connect with us on Instagram at Joy of Business or Twitter at Joy of Business. And share your pictures with hashtags BusinessDoneWhere and Joy of Business. Let's change the world with business.
Hi, my name is Monica and I'm the host of Co-Creating Now. Give yourself an opportunity to connect with your all-knowing higher self and manifest joy, love, and peace together. Every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Irreverent Therapists. I'm Pam Hoteling, and with me, of course, is Marilyn Bradford. And we are talking about who are you putting in front of you. And Marilyn, before we get back to what we're talking about, I just want to do a plug for Simone Milasas.
Yes.
We just heard the, stuff about her. When it comes to doing 50-50 in business, Simone and, what she talks about, what she creates with the Joy of Business is just phenomenal. And she has a show on Om Time. So I encourage everybody to make sure you catch Simone's show.
She is amazing. And she really does. Before I got to Access, I absolutely hated business because that was my family's view that business was somehow not, I don't know, business was somehow not something that was, well, it wasn't as high and noble a calling, my dear, as academia. And, talk about cutting something out of my life, that I now totally enjoy. And I got that through Simone's Joy of Business. Yeah. So it's her classes, her book, everything really great. And she has this radio show. I was actually on her show talking about addiction to poverty.
Cool.
At one point. Yeah. But, so what were we talking about, Pam?
We were talking about hiding.
Yeah, I was talking about somnambulant. I don't think I'm saying that right. I'm talking like an ambulance, some ambulant. Anyway, I used to, when I was like a teenager or something, I first heard about zombies. I'm like, yeah, right, they don't exist. But then actually I saw some people and I thought, you know what, I think these people are basically the equivalent of zombies.
Yeah.
Because they're people who let somebody else or something else completely run their lives. So that essentially they're just kind of like the Walking Dead. There's nobody there. It's like, knock, knock, who's there? No one. Tell me how to be. Tell me how to act. Tell me what to do. And that's what I'll do.
Yeah.
And, I think that's a really dire consequence of making someone or something greater than you. You see it in really radical political groups. You see it in a radical military, like what's going on now with ISIS and all of that. You see it in
extremist religions.
Thank you. That was the one I was trying to get out. Absolutely. In extremist religions. This is what we do. We look at it this way. And there's no space for anybody to be who they are. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say we do it this way and it's the right way.
And it's the right way. Yes.
There's that judgment of this is how it has to be. This is the way it is. And when you put that in front of you, make it more important than you hide behind it, all these different things we've been talking about. It's like there is no you.
Oh, wow. That's a good way to say it. There is no you.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's kind of
heavy.
Everything
that is, let's destroy it, uncreate it, times a godzillion.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds.
So let's talk a little bit about why we would choose such a thing.
Well, one is, to me, especially when you're getting into like things and ideas, because we've talked a lot about people and making yourself less than, more than, so let's go into this other arena. It's like, if I make a belief or an idea more important than me, bigger than me, put it in front of me is the way, we've been talking about it. It's like, I don't have to choose.
You don't have to
I don't
exist.
have to think. I don't have to worry.
Yes.
It's
you
taken
become a
care
robot.
of. It's on somebody else or something else.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's kind of scary to actually get out there on your own and go, well, this is what I know to be true for me.
Yeah.
And this is not true for me. And particularly if you're brought up in a household where that's the norm, and it can be a very conservative religious household or ethnic household, where these belief systems, I'm kind of a mystery crime reader person, and I read this great book, if you like that kind of thing, called I, Pilgrim. But one of the things that came out of it is the brother in this Islamic family became furious with a mother and daughter for when they had moved, for them taking off their head coverings and actually sitting with men and laughing. And, how much of that is learned behavior? And yet we tend, if we have that kind of thing hammered into us. And I'm not trying to pick on the Muslims because, it happens with everything. It happens with Catholics and Jews and scientists. That's how I grew up. Science was the only thing that mattered. But it is this indoctrination that we get that we never question. And it's not that you have to reject any cultural or ethnic or things that work for you, but if you don't question them, then you're actually making them greater than you because you have not chosen them. You have simply allowed them to be sort of impelled upon you.
Yeah. Well, you know what it makes me think of? So my son, like his early years of school, like first through third grade, he was in an alternative Montessori kind of school. And then he went from that into public school. And I remember when he started public school, he's like, Mom, they don't actually want you to think. They just want you to give the right answer.
Yes.
And it just, I'm very aware because I do have kids in school. So much of what school is teaching you this is the way it is.
Yes.
This is the way science works. This is the way politics works. This is what is. It's not teaching you to ask questions. You ask questions about facts and factual stuff, but not to ask questions about, well, what else is there that I'm not being taught here? He was talking about thinking, but where Marilyn and I would go is to asking questions because I was involved in a religion. There was a lot of stuff I liked about it, but there was also a very strong tradition of we do it this way, and if you try to change it at all, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And what I realized was, there's stuff here that works for me, but there's stuff that doesn't. And, what I was looking for was to be able to ask questions and find what's true for me, what works for me, what I know, and not be told this is how it is. So I actually got out of that religion a long time ago.
Well, and the thing about school, I used to teach high school like a godzillion years ago, and I enjoyed it except for the bureaucracy. Mm-hmm. But I taught from that point of view, whether, it's like, well, what do you know about this? You read this story? What do you think? But what education has been going towards, and now finally people are rebelling, which I just think is awesome, has been all of these basically standardized multiple choice tests, which require you to memorize completely what are the 5 causes of the Civil War. And if you don't memorize what the experts, and I put that in parentheses, have decided the 5 causes are, you get it wrong. Yeah. But what it does is it turns kids into robots. And as your son would have said, there's no thinking, and we would say nobody's encouraged to actually explore, create, ask questions. And this kind of test truly has nothing to do with intelligence or education, if you want my point of view on it.
Well, I think that's a very irreverent point of view, and I totally agree. We could do a whole show on education. Well, and I do want to say there are access facilitators who are working on creating something different with education where it's actually, giving the kids the tools to ask questions and look at the energy of things and use their talents and capacities in a way that public school just doesn't, any traditional school, public or private, doesn't allow.
Yeah, and actually allow the kids to pick what they want to learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know how it is, like if you get a choice in something, like if you get a choice in what movie you want to go to or what book you want to read, or how much more enthusiastic are you than if you're told this is what you have to do? Mm-hmm. And I think that's another thing. We've taken all of the joy out of school.
Yeah.
With this being less than, and I'm the expert. And that leads me to one of my greatest pet peeves, which is this whole worshiping of experts that we do.
Tell me more, Marilyn.
Well, we're all taught, like, when I do my food and body stuff, like I'm currently doing this, Are You Eating to Live, Living to Eat, 21 Day to Transform Your Relationship with Your Body and Food. And one of the things I always have to clear is how many of you, it's a question I ask, how many of you have bought into somebody else as a food and diet expert, and you've tried their program and failed and then blamed yourself for it? And everything that is, can we destroy and uncreate it times a godzillion?
Yes.
Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, penalty, choice, poison, beyonds. And what I say to people is if you're willing to be aware and ask questions, there is no one who knows more about what kind of food and movement is going to work for you and your body than you.
Yeah.
But we abdicate. Once again, it's this sense of hiding behind or abdicating our awareness and our knowledge to some so-called expert and believing them even if we know better. I can't tell you how many people have told me stories where, well, my therapist said I should, even though, and I did it, even though I knew it wasn't the right thing to do. Or recently I had someone call me and they'd called a so-called expert in a particular field, and they said, I made this appointment and I paid for it, and the next day I knew it was a mistake, but I didn't change it because after all, they're the expert.
Right. Right.
So it's so much about acknowledging and trusting yourself to know what you know.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you don't get information. When my computer's going wonky, I'm like, help.
Well, I was going to just add that on. It's like, just to clarify, it's not that there aren't times where someone else, their information, their knowledge,
Yes.
their awareness isn't going to be a contribution to you, but you ask questions about it. So it's like you go to this expert and they're saying X, Y, Z, and you ask questions and you're like, yeah, X doesn't read, Y doesn't read, Z. Yeah, there's something there for me.
Cool.
And you're willing to look at that and ask questions. And, like a lot of times I'll read a book, like about, how to handle such and such in your life. And it might be that there's 3 things in there that are a huge contribution to me, and the rest of it is not relevant to me at all.
Right.
And so rather than taking the whole thing and everything they're saying and going, wow, if they're quote right, I have to listen to all of it, I take what works for me. So on that note, we will come back to the Irreverent Therapist in just a few minutes with Who Are You Putting in Front of You?
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Radio Namaste leads you down the yellow brick road into portals of consciousness with the blue collar goddess as your host. Interviews with humans who could be famous or just popular, and answers to everything are on the agenda. Tune into Om Times Radio and drop in on Thursdays at 3 Eastern. It's a different brand of enlightenment.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. Om Times Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single Om Times endeavor. Host your show with Om Times Radio Network. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Know what to do, just can't figure out how to fit it all into your busy life? It doesn't have to be that way. Hi, I'm Alan Baisberg from Seamless Life. Join me every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern on Om Times Radio and learn the how of conscious living. Let me and my guests help make your life seamless.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Om Times Radio, IOM FM.
And welcome back, everybody. We are the Irreverent Therapists. I'm Pam Hodeling, and with me is Marilyn Bradford. And today we're talking about who are you putting in front of you. And Marilyn, before we get back to that, I want to say we have a comment on our Facebook page.
Cool. And I missed it.
Well, actually, no. So it's not on this show. It's not a question, but it's a comment on our last couple of shows. Okay. And I'm just so excited. I wanted to say something about it because she's talking about the show we did about jumping off the cliff, and that, you know, using when you're willing to embrace change and are willing to ask questions, especially the ones like, if I choose this, what will my life be in 50 years? If I don't choose this, what will my life be like in 50 years? When you're really following the energy and asking those questions, it can make the cliff very small.
I love it.
And, you know, so that it's not this huge hurdle called change. So anyway, thank you so much for your comments. We love getting comments and questions. So please, if you want to, whether it's live during the call, the show, or later, you can send us comments through our Facebook page. It's called The Irreverent Therapists, and you can also contact us through our website, theirreverenttherapist.com.
Yeah, and if you have any particular ideas for shows you'd like us to do, we're happy to look at that too, because we know, having been therapists forever, I think we have, I don't know what.
I think between us, we're in about 40 years combined.
At least 40 years, yeah. We've seen it all in a lot of ways, whether it's relationships or job stuff or transitions or addiction or any kind of abuse. But a lot of what we've seen is people being diagnosed, put into categories, and coming to us because it didn't work for them to be in a category. And a lot of what we have seen as clients are people who are seekers and who are just looking for a really different perspective. They're not interested in being boxed up. Interestingly, they're not interested in being made less than, even though they may be told, oh, well, you're depressive.
Oh, I just had the biggest aha, Marilyn.
Okay, cool.
Like the whole mental health system puts you at 49.
Absolutely.
And the mental health system's at 51.
Yeah. That's the whole expert thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, if you're looking for a way of like addressing whatever's going on with you there, where you don't have to go into that, you can, try these tools we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. And ask questions. So that is, and that's been one of my beasts for the whole mental health system from the beginning. And so I'm going off on a tangent here, but I was taught, I actually went to the Menninger Clinic, which is like the Tata of mental health clinics, for my internship. And I learned all this stuff. I learned a lot of theory, and a lot of it was very interesting and all of that. But I remember, being part of study groups and asking questions, and it was these theories and diagnoses were so accepted as truths that I'm like, nobody has any place to go with this.
Yeah.
You can't actually be aware of who a being is if you're putting them into a box. You just can't.
Yeah.
So someone would come to me and say, I'm a depressive. And I'm like, who told you that? Or actually what I usually ask was, how do you know? How do you know that? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, how do you know you're a depressive?
Yeah.
Well, my doctor told me. Okay. Well, if you weren't listening to your doctor, no offense, what would you be aware of?
Yeah. I love it. And I love that question. If you weren't fill in the blank, what would you be aware of?
Yeah.
What would you choose? That's the tool you introduced me to that has so helped me. But I was just going to say, we have about 7 minutes left, Marilyn. We've talked a lot about all these different ways we put other people in front of us, or ideas or beliefs or whatever. So let's spend a little time looking at how do you not do that? You know,
Oh, good
how
point.
do you do the 50-50, or, you know, put yourself first, or however we're going to talk about it.
Yeah. So what would you say to someone who says, I'm a mom and I'm doing alternately 49-51 and 51-49 with my kids?
Okay, so actually, the first thing I go to is to use the access clearing statement. And Marilyn, I don't have these right off the top of my head, but you might. It's clearing's about 49-51. Like, even if it's just everywhere I'm doing 49, destroy and uncreate it, times a godzillion.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds.
And what have I made so vital about doing the 49-51 paradigm that keeps me from accessing the true power and potency of me?
Oh, I like that one.
And everything that is and everything that brings up, would you destroy and uncreate it, please?
Times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds.
Yeah, because that's what it's really about. Anytime you're making yourself less than or greater than, doing superiority, you really can't step into being who you are. Because even if you're doing, I'm greater than them, I mean, you've probably all known people. Of course, I've known a lot of people who do 51 all the time. They're just walking around, I'm superior to everybody. You know, what does that actually create? Does that create anyone having a more expansive, more aware, more knowing experience? Or does it just create shutdown? Because those are people who desire to do power over. And power over is never based in awareness. It's always based in stupidity, actually,
Yeah.
I would say.
I think you could say that very accurately.
Because they're assuming that the greatest thing that you can have and be is power over others, when actually, at least from my point of view, the greatest thing you can choose is awareness and consciousness, which allows you to actually perceive, know, and receive everyone and everything for who and what it actually is.
Yeah. So, along those lines, another thing I would suggest is asking this question. If I were being 50-50, what would I be aware of? If I were being 50-50, what would I choose?
Yeah, and you can do it with all kinds of, you can do it with people. You can also do it with things like money. Mm-hmm. You can do it with...
give an example.
Okay, because most people either make, in one way or another, make money greater than them. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to get it. Or they have a lot and they use it over people. But it doesn't, by making it that significant, you actually limit what you can be and create with money. So if you just go, if I were being 50-50 with money, what would that create? And one of the things that it does is it takes money out of all of the projections, expectations, rejections, separation, judgments, conclusions you have about it, and puts you into question with money.
Yeah.
So you can actually go to a space like, okay, if I'm doing 50-50 with money, what can we create? And what would be my contribution and what would be money's contribution?
Yeah. And same thing with kids. If I were choosing to be 50-50 with my kids, what would that create?
Yes.
What would be different? What would I choose?
And the thing is, you can do this even if the other person is very much stuck in 49-51.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up. It's not like that, it's not that if I'm in business with you, I have to get you to be 50-50 with me.
Right.
I choose 50-50, whatever you're choosing.
Yes.
Say more.
Yes.
Let's say more about that.
Well, and it's like, I know a fellow who's in a relationship and he's like, I want to be 50-50 with her. But she only wants to be 49. And Gary was talking about it and he's like, you can be 50-50 and give her what she requires. You just don't buy it as true or real.
Yeah.
And I think that's just enormous. A lot of times you give people what they require, you tell them only what they can hear, but you're aware that there's nothing true or real about it. It's just where they've created limitation, and there's no point in saying it any other way or acting in any other way,
Yeah.
or trying to convince them, which is also a form of superiority.
Which I'm thinking, I mean, we only have a couple minutes left. You just kind of dropped that in. I'm like, we could do a whole show on what can people hear and what do they require. So just know, people, we will give you more on that than we're able to do here. But if you have a few more things to say about that right now, Marilyn, just to give people more of a sense of what you're talking about.
Sure. I mean, I used to desire, or actually just really, I want my mom to see who I am and understand what I do, and I want that so badly. And what I realized is she really can't do that. It's beyond her universe. Mm-hmm. So what I've done instead, and it's improved our relationship dramatically, is just ask questions. What does my mom require of me? Yeah. She requires to know that she was a good mom and attention in certain ways, and I'm very happy to do that. And once I gave up that whole desire for her, my desire for her to see me in a certain way, which was not in her universe, not possible, and I stuck to saying things in ways that she could receive it, because she has a lot of points of view about a lot of things, that changed everything.
Yeah. That's so awesome. So I just want to say thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We've been talking about who are you putting in front of you. Next week, our topic's going to be, can I have the money now, please? So you've heard us use, business and money. We've been dropping it in here and there. Now we're going to do a whole show on money. So come back next week. Go by our Facebook page, The Irreverent Therapists. Leave us comments, questions, ideas for shows you'd like to have us do. And you can always email us through our website, theirreverenttherapists.com. Thank you, everybody, and goodbye.
Awesome. See you next week.